All right, welcome to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, straight out of Indie Music TV here in Ronkonkoma, Long Island. At the board is our super producer, Matty. Matty, how are you, bud?
Doing great as always.
And to the right is the star of the show, Mr. Jimmy Farrow. Jimmy, how are you, my friend?
Good morning. Holy hangover. What's up?
Heard you're having trouble sleeping nowadays, you all right?
What's sleep? All I do is drink and try to sleep and drink some more.
Well, sleep well, my friend, because we have a new president of the United States.
Oh,
Thoughts?
now I can sleep well.
Oh, I'm asking you if you can sleep well.
This is a guarantee, huh? Oh, boy. I don't know what to think. I mean, how's he doing so far? So far, so good?
He's already making changes.
I heard that. Yeah, what's he doing?
I'm interested to find out
What is
from
he
our
up
guest
to?
what he thinks. But
Oh,
before we
boy.
get to our guest, I want to thank the band that sings the theme song for the Monty and the Farrow Show, Wisteria Hall, led by the lead singer, our very own Jimmy Farrow, if anyone didn't know that.
Yeah.
Along with his partner, Bart Griggs. Wisteria Hall's music can be purchased on iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Reverb Nation.
Thank you.
All right, right after this commercial break, we're going to get right to it with the comic legend, the icon, Jackie the Joke Martling. We'll be right back. You need a body shop? You need engine repair? Auto Excellence, Collision Specialists, 631-261-6420. That's 631-261-6420. Auto Excellence.
Elm Logistics. For all your logistic needs, call 631-299-3595. That's 631-299-3595. Elm Global Logistics. Pride, performance, and partnerships. Jeff Quest, graphics design, custom vinyl lettering, and all your art and video needs. 516-317-8204. That's for Jeff Quest, graphic design.
All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monty and the Farrow, seen every Thursday, produced out of Indie Music TV. Monty and the Farrow can be seen on YouTube, the Monty and the Farrow page, Facebook Live, the Monty and the Farrow page. You can be heard on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Anchor. Also seen on Twitch TV, the Monty and the Farrow page. And if you didn't know it, number 26 most popular pro wrestling broadcast in the United States.
Not bad.
Not too bad, right?
Okay.
And if you don't have enough of us, catch us on Channel 115 every Tuesday from 7 p.m. to 7:30. And then on Friday on Channel 115 from 2 a.m. to 2:30.
Yeah.
And on Saturday at 6 a.m. on Channel 115, 6 to 6:30.
That's when I go to sleep.
That's when you go to sleep.
Yeah, but we'll be
And
catching
you'll be able
Jackie
to catch
on that.
our special guest,
Yeah.
Mr. Jackie the Joke Martling, who is not in studio right now. We thought it best that with COVID going around, we could just do a quick V-mix with this legend. Jackie, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, and I need all of your sponsors. I need every one of them.
Stay away from
if you
it.
just put
Stay
me in
away from it,
contact.
brother. Jackie, I really appreciate you coming on our show. I know it's a pro wrestling broadcast, but having an icon at your level, we
Nice.
could really appreciate you
I'll tell
coming
you,
on.
I'm glad I'm not there in your opening. I saw you guys beating the hell out of each other. I'm glad I'm not in the middle of all that. You know, I'm
Oy.
going on 35 years old, so I got to be careful.
You look
I gotta be
great, man.
careful.
You look great. How you holding up today in today's world?
You know, I'll tell you the truth. I live on the water. I got a beautiful girlfriend. I got all the pot I could possibly smoke.
Oh,
I don't
my
drink
hero.
anymore.
My hero.
So I live like a king, but the whole world is collapsing around me. So I feel guilty saying, yeah, everything's great. Because everything ain't great. Everything sucks. But as far as I'm concerned, it's terrific. Are you kidding? I got a heart on a couple of years ago.
Oh, man, that's better that you already one-up me already. You 2 minutes into the show, you one-up me already.
I hate to come on the air and start bragging right away, but you know.
Let me ask you, you want to weigh in on our new president? What are your thoughts?
Oh, boy.
Let's put you right in the fire.
I love him, and
Okay.
I purposely didn't ask about politics with anybody because I'm a comic. So, you know, if you say you like somebody or somebody else, all of a sudden you lost half your audience.
Right.
But, you know, I disliked Donald Trump from the time I met him 30 years ago. You know,
Okay.
he came on the Stern show, and when he was in the room, there was nobody else in the room. He didn't acknowledge anybody even existed. It had nothing to do with politics. He's just a dick. He's just a dick of a person. He's an entitled dick.
He's got
nothing to do with politics.
He's got SDS syndrome, Jackie. Shit don't stink.
Absolutely. In fact,
Wow.
I'm pretty sure he thinks he doesn't shit. It's so funny. I know a lot of people that worked on that stupid show, The Apprentice, and he wears diapers. He wears the pants. He's been shitting his pants for 15 years.
Hey, what do you think of reality shows anyway? What's your opinion on reality shows?
My life is a reality show. The Howard Stern show was a reality show.
Yeah.
It really was. The camera's right there. They're not reality shows. It's all bullshit. You know what I mean? That if anybody ever really ran a camera, they just did a documentary on me, and it's really great and really honest. And I'm just scared people are going to look at it and say, "Oh, wow, that's a lot of great stuff they invented or made up," because nobody tells the truth anymore.
Yeah,
but I don't watch any of that crap. I've never watched any of that crap.
Yeah.
Stuttering John from the show lived across the street from Bruce Jenner, and then Jenner married Kardashian, and John and his wife used to go over and have dinner with the Kardashians. And the place was a madhouse, and John's wife, Susanna, who's a dear, sweet, they're long divorced, but she's a great girl. And she turned to them and said, "Man, this place is a nut house. You guys should make a TV show out of this." And of course, they made $10 billion. I don't think they even bought her lunch,
Right.
But all that stuff is, I know. Why do you guys do that stuff?
What reality
maybe
shows?
Because I've never been asked to be on one. Maybe if they asked me to dance with the stars, I would completely turn around and say, "No, this is the greatest thing."
Well, what you should do, Jack, is I think maybe the reality show should be worst comics in America, because everybody thinks they're a fucking comic
That's
nowadays.
true. That is true. Any take on that, Jackie? There's a lot of clowns running around.
I know. Unfortunately, I'm one of them.
Oh, stop! Boy, I walked right into that one.
It's so funny because all the idiots from the Stern Show, I actually named them the Whack Pack, and the longer it gets from the Stern Show, now I'm actually being absorbed into being one of the Whack Pack that I named. Now it's funny because I tell jokes. I'm not really a comic. I tell jokes, and I love jokes, but. When I started doing comedy, there were like 150 comedians, and I was like the only guy that told jokes, but everybody else was comics. Now there's like 150,000 comedians. I mean, anybody that ever tripped over their own shoes and somebody giggled is, "Oh, I'm a comedian,"
Do you feel fortunate about your timing? Was it the right time? You're back in the day when you got started.
I was very lucky. But luck favored the prepared. I did my homework and I did a lot of work and really broke my balls. I was around a long time. I was 38 years old before I got my first paycheck from K-Rock, from the radio, So I paid my dues. I was around, But you know what? If nothing had to happen, I still would have done the same crap. You don't go after something. You just do what you're doing, hoping something bumps into you.
Sure.
So I got lucky, but a lot of people say, "Oh, you're so lucky." It's funny. People say, "What would have happened to you if you hadn't ran into Howard Stern?" And I say, "What would have happened to Howard if he didn't run into me?"
That's a great point. That's a great point.
I absolutely helped him. There's an old story about Hillary Clinton, and somebody said to her, "Yeah, you're doing all right, but you're married to the President of the United States. What if you were married to a gasoline pumper?"
Yeah.
And she said, "Then he'd be President of the United States." Think about it. Everybody helped. Now, are you guys wrestlers?
No, whoa, maybe he's wrestling size. Look at me. What are you talking about?
Well, I can't see nothing.
Oh, okay.
All I know is you're wearing sunglasses.
Well, when you look back, so we grew up on Long Island, like you did, right? You grew up on Long Island.
I'm still
didn't you?
growing up doing a lousy job of it, but go on, Mike. Go on.
So, childhood friends in high school.
Yes, yes.
My partner here turned me on to pro wrestling.
Yes, in junior high at the
And
bus stop.
then life goes on. We all do our own thing. And then a couple of years ago, I was asked to be a guest for what reason on some dude's
I
radio
still don't
show.
know. Yeah, we still
And
don't
then
know.
all of a sudden, here we are with this wrestling show. And we were just doing it for shits and giggles, Jackie. But it started getting a life of its own and
Yeah, it's
became
doing
pretty popular.
Well,
So
congratulations. That's good.
Thank
You know,
you.
I'm so old.
What?
Like, my parents were big drinkers, and they would go across the street, and they'd leave me at home with my stupid TV dinner, my Swanson TV dinner that I was a big boy and I could put in the oven and heat up.
Love Swanson
And I would
TV
sit
dinners.
there, I'd sit there in my easy chair and watch hours and hours live from Sunnyside Garden, live from Comac Arena. And I mean, I watched hours and hours of the
Hey.
Graham Brothers and Anthony Naraka and Arnold the Golden
Okay.
Boy.
Okay.
And Killer
Bruno?
Kowalski with the claw hold, Bruno Sammartino. All those guys, I knew all of them inside out. The midgets, I used to go crazy, and I sat there for years watching this crap for the most part alone, and it was totally entertaining. Like 3 feet from the screen, burning my retina, watching, and then one day, I don't know whether I was in 3rd grade or in 12th grade, but at some point somebody leaped off the turnbuckle and came down on another guy's head with his knee.
Okay.
And I said, wait 1 minute. That would have killed him. And I turned it off. I never watched it again. I said, you know, these guys been bullshitting me for 5 years. Yeah, I mean, it's great theater. I love it. You know, it's a beautiful dance.
You know,
Jesus Christmas.
They no longer have that it's real stuff going on. You realize that they did admit it. The business did openly admit that it's staged. So you can come back if you want.
You know, I did get a kick out of it, man. Haystacks Calhoun, Happy
God.
Humphrey.
yes.
Okay.
Oh my God.
601
So much
pounds,
fun.
4 asses. Haystacks Calhoun.
Right.
That was huge. Jackie, I wanted to.
Happy Humphrey was 750.
Oh yeah. Oh my. He was even
you
bigger than
imagine that,
Haystacks.
But I
Oh my
never
God.
went to a lot. I always wanted to go. I wound up being good friends with Jerry Cooney, and I went to some boxing matches, but I never went to a wrestling thing. And, you
Okay.
know,
Okay. So there's
You know.
episode 1 of the reality show. Monty and the Pharaoh take Jackie the Joke Man to a wrestling
Well,
match.
Jackie, once COVID clears up, you come in the studio, get to meet all these guys. It's, you know.
I'd
But
be
they'd
glad
probably
to
be in
come in.
awe. They'd probably be in awe to meet with you.
That's
first,
true.
So,
That is true.
Jackie,
Jackie.
they're all dead.
Oh, Jackie, when you were on the show, if I could say as a fan of the Howard Stern show, I thought it was the best time period, personally, when Jackie was on the show. What drove you to be a comedian in the first place? So was it? How does it come about?
You know what? That's a great question. I was never a comic, and I never had any intention of becoming a comic or a comedian, but only because I didn't know that was something you could choose. When you don't know, you don't know. I always thought that to be in show business, let alone be a comedian, you were like touched from above, or it was some kind of divine thing. I remember so distinctly when I was in a band in college, and the drummer in my band was this heavy-set Latvian guy, not too good on the eyes, pretty ugly, really sweet guy, and I just got to know him, and I said, Nick, what's your major? And I can still remember how it hit me. He said, radio and TV. And I thought, what are you, a moron? You don't get to choose that. That chooses you. And all of a sudden I realized it's a learned thing. You can learn about radio, you can learn about television, you can go into the industry, whether or not you get plucked out to be an actor or whatever. But I never realized it was a choice. But my whole life I told jokes and told jokes and told jokes, but not with any intention of ever doing it for any other reason but to make people laugh. I organically love to tell dirty jokes. I like to tell jokes, but dirty jokes make people laugh harder. And I just always had done that. And when my rock and roll band broke up at the end of the 70s, the only thing I knew was I wasn't going to get a job. So I continued telling my stupid jokes on stage, and I never turned around and looked back. I made my own records, the whole deal, you know. You have a rock and roll band? I had a band. We played the entire 70s, all up and down Long Island. We drove around in a 1955 bright yellow Cadillac hearse.
How was the pay back in those days at the local Long Island clubs? Because I served my time doing it in the band in the '90s, so I'm just curious. What'd you guys get for a night back in the '70s?
Oh, I think, Well, it got better as the years progressed. But
What, two beers and a handshake? I mean, what?
Yeah, I remember we auditioned at this place called the Neptune Pub.
Okay.
And Uncle Vinny loved us. And he had the East Meadow Neptune Pub and he had the Massapequa Neptune Pub. And he said, I want you guys to be here on Tuesdays and I want you to be at the other club on Thursdays.
All right, the
and
house
I remember
band.
Nice. It was $80 a night, $40 a piece.
Nice.
And we went back to Oyster Bay, where we're from, and went to the local bar and sat there and got drunk. And it was a long story. We actually auditioned on another band's equipment, and our stuff was out in our hearse. And since they were auditioning before us, there's no sense changing over all the equipment. So we auditioned on their equipment. We got the gig. They didn't get the gig.
Oh.
And we went out to the hearse, and somebody had broken in and stole our speaker columns.
Oh.
So here we are drunk. We got a job 2 nights a week. We lost our stuff. We're so pissed off. We go back to Oyster Bay, and we're sitting there at the bar, and we're bragging to Billy Nastry, the bartender. Yeah, we're working musicians, man. Look at us. We're working 2 nights a week. We're hitting it big, blah, blah, blah. We're so excited. And a few minutes later, the people next to us left, and he said, you fucking assholes. He says, do you know who you were sitting next to? We're like, no. It was Billy Joel and his wife.
Oh.
I mean, he only had, at that point, he had only put out Piano Man, but it was a national hit. And he was already big stuff. But we were so much in our own world, we weren't even paying attention. It was so funny. You assholes, you know who that was? That's so great. So great.
Unbelievable.
The play was, I think we wound up getting up to $100, maybe $150, and then you do a gig somewhere else for $200.
Right.
But it was horrible pay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I know everything was much, much cheaper. I know I never missed a meal. I don't know how much we stole or begged or borrowed. We lived in my parents' basement. It's rock and roll. You do whatever you got to do.
Was the musician life a little bit of a kind of like a training because you become a comedian and now
we weren't really. We were guys who played guitar that wanted to get laid and wanted to smoke pot and wanted to get drunk. We were a 2-man band. We told dirty jokes. We played our own songs. We were incredible fun. But I used to tell jokes between songs, and then the two of us started telling a real lot of jokes. And that's what broke up the band, because him and the other guy, we added a third guy, and then they decided they didn't really want to do the joke thing. And I said, well, I'm going to do it, So they left. So I started playing guitar by myself and telling my jokes. But it was a weird transition. The whole first year I was a comedian, I had a ponytail.
Mm-hmm.
When you're a comic, you walk on stage, they know in 10 seconds whether or not they like you.
Right.
You walk up there with a ponytail, they already hate you.
They don't like
without
you
a
already.
doubt, that's for sure.
I didn't give a fuck.
I could have told you
But I got real lucky, I started producing some shows, and I'm sure you heard of the Brokerage.
Mm-hmm. Of course. I played there, yes.
Well, that was called,
yes, sir.
That was called Corky's Music Box, and then Gary Smith bought it and turned it into the Brokerage, which was a music venue, and then he had me come in, and I made it into a comedy venue.
Nice.
And then a couple months later, me and my soon-to-be wife took over Governors.
Okay.
So I was booking Governors in the Brokerage for a long time and making a lot of money, and I wasn't especially a great comedian, but I made a record because I knew how to make a record. So I had my own record. 6 months after I became a comedian, I had my own album.
What was the name of that first album?
Calling card.
Jackie, what's the first name?
It's called What Did You Expect?
Wait a second.
That's pretty funny, Jackie. So just hold on a second. I know we're on a little bit of delay, but the owner of the station has the album, and he wants to send it to you. It's still wrapped. Chris Patty, the owner of Indie Music TV.
Still wrapped.
It's still wrapped.
Have you looked at it?
I started looking at it, but we got on a little
early.
Turn
around. Let me see the back. Is
Turning
the back
it around.
color?
It's black and white.
Oh, you got the
This is an original printing, I think. Yes, I believe it is. And it's rap.
Does it feel thick? Does it feel like there's something
Yeah.
in it?
Oh, yeah. Hey, wait a minute. It doesn't feel thick. Hold on a second.
The Colorado number system is in there. But look close. Have you not looked at the front? Have you not looked at it?
We didn't have a chance to look at it.
Well,
Just
I don't have
drop
my
it off
glasses
right
on,
now.
so I'm blind. So, Mike,
I'm
help me
looking
out.
at it right now. So there's 3 young gentlemen with the Vernon School, East Norwich, Long Island, November 1961.
Okay.
Are you the guy in the middle with that striped jacket on? Is that you?
Yeah, now look a little closer.
All right, I'm looking closer. What am I supposed
I
to
wish
say?
I could see. Sorry, Jackie.
Oh, you're giving the finger, Jackie.
Is
What are
he
you doing?
really?
Giving the
Look
finger.
at him.
Wait a minute!
Oh, my God. That's hilarious.
What? Wait a minute.
That's why
What?
it's called What Did You Expect?
Oy.
Very
Oh,
good.
boy.
Very good. That is
Oy.
awesome.
You were already blazing your trail. Jackie, who are your influences comedy-wise? You know, there's something slapstick about you, so I was very curious.
I liked everything. You know, I really
Okay.
liked. My mother used to like to watch me watch Red Skelton
Oh,
because he laughed at himself and
He's
farted
great.
around a lot.
yes.
I liked the Marx Brothers, but not till
Oh.
later on. I loved Henny Youngman because he told the stupid jokes.
yes.
Of course, I fell in love with Red Fox and I wound up doing a video with him, which was a major thrill. But I wasn't a guy that listened to Robert Klein or George Carlin or Shelley Berman and listened
Right.
and memorized. I
Understood.
was just a guy that told jokes. I
Yeah.
remembered every joke I ever heard, and I just loved doing that. So I had no real influences other than just wanting to organically be funny. And it wasn't a means to an end. It was just a means to, you know, if I made 10 guys in the bar room laugh for a half hour, you know, it was like I died and went to heaven, you know.
Jackie,
Probably saved me a few dollars on beer, too.
what did mom and dad think about your career choices?
Oh.
Well, if they had ever said anything to each other or me, they were both, every single person in my family is funnier than me. Both my brothers, my sister, my mother, my father, they were all really smart, really, really funny. And my mother was such a wise guy. And I used to tell Howard some of the things my mother did. And they, you know, people, you know, all you know is what you know. Like, I grew up in this family. I didn't know that everybody's family wasn't like mine. Like, if I was walking around and my zipper was open, my mother would point down and go, "Look, it's Ever Ready Eddie." When I'm 6 years old.
Oh, my
6 years
God.
old, you know.
My father
she
used to
do
tell me there
stuff
was a
like
draft in the room. He looked down his draft.
There you go. There you go.
I was like, what?
They're all having fun, right? But the family was funny, and there was no discouragement, you know. But
That's great.
They drank a lot. My old man really drank a lot in the '60s, but I grew up in, you know, I was in college in the late '60s. You know, it was, you know, tune in, turn on, drop out, and acid and pot, and, you know, it's so funny because people nowadays, you know, like I'll say to somebody who's like 18 years old, "Do you want to get stoned?" And they'll go, "No, man, I quit when I was 13. And I'm like,
Oh my
because
God.
when I was growing up, it wasn't how old were you when you started smoking pot.
Right.
It was where were you in 1967?
Oh.
Because, you know, I was a sophomore in college, and that's when I started smoking pot. You know, you put on the Jefferson Airplane and get stoned.
Nice.
But before that, you know, there just wasn't pot. People didn't smoke it. It was around here and there. You know, the jazz musicians had it for decades, but as far as being in the general scheme of things, it wasn't until, you know, 67, 68, 69, the whole world, you know, woke up to pot. It's been a pretty interesting ride, you know. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, and New York still hasn't legalized it fully, but I'm waiting. I'm trying to be patient about this.
I don't know. I don't.
Yeah, I never cared. You know, I've never.
Well, I'm with you
know,
on that, but I find it ironic that the very state that held Woodstock still hasn't figured it out, and some of the other states have. So,
Yeah, no, that does make you nuts. You know, some of the most straight-laced places in the world. You know, but
no
you
thanks.
know, who cares? You know, who cares? I just smoke pot whenever I wanted to. And didn't care.
Besides taking advantage of the drugs in the 60s, which I commend you for, by the way, I hope you did go and see a lot of those great bands back in those days. Were you able to see Jimi Hendrix or the Doors or anybody like that from that time period?
I never saw Hendrix live or the Doors. We did go to the Fillmore East to see the Jefferson Airplane.
Nice.
And
nice.
we had a huge concert at Michigan State with Mountain, and so that was so long ago that the name of the group was Rod Stewart and the Small Faces.
Wow. There you go.
And
Sure,
and Chicago and the Jefferson Airplane were all on the same bill. It was like our own mini Woodstock at Michigan State. And I saw the Grateful Dead at Michigan State before they became the Grateful Dead. There was an incarnation of the Grateful Dead.
Warlocks.
A band. But they're actually called the Grateful Dead, and they played at Michigan State, and it was like 8 of us in the audience.
Okay.
And then, like, all of a sudden, like 2 years later, I don't know if they regrouped or whatever and became that whole traveling monstrous thing. I didn't really, tap into that.
Right.
But I'll tell you, it was so exciting being on the Stern Show to meet, your idols, like James Taylor and Roger Daltrey and Leslie West and Clarence Clemens, and those guys became my friends, Joe Walsh.
Right.
I turned the entire Michigan State onto the Young Rascals in 1966 because they only had a local hit. They had a song called "I Ain't Gonna Eat It Out My Heart Anymore," but it was only a local New York hit, so nobody knew who they were. So I'm trying to tell everybody how great this band is, and all of a sudden Good Lovin' went national.
There you go.
And all of a sudden they were, and now those guys, not the drummer, but the other three guys are like friends of mine. I can't believe the Rascals are friends. They're friends of mine, but they're not friends of each other. They can't be in the same room as each other, but they can be in a room with me.
It's the Simon and Garfunkel
factor. It's funny you brought the Rascals up, Jackie. At our old studio, we since moved to this studio. The old producer actually wrote the book
for
Life
the Rascals,
as a Rascal,
the autobiography.
Stephen Miller. I don't know if you had read it.
Yes, it recently came out.
What's the guy's name?
Stephen Miller. He just wrote a book, Life of a Rascal.
Yeah, it was.
I don't know him, but I'm sure everybody I know knows him.
Yeah.
Listen, we got a fan out there, Jackie, Jeff Rumplick, that asked, what was your favorite place to perform at?
That's a real floating thing, but Rascals downstairs in West Orange at the original Rascals was like 400 people packed in, and it was just cherry. But any place that was a rectangle with a decent sound system, that just happened to be a great one. Club Benet was the same as Rascals, but it was like 700 people, so it was a little bit bigger.
Club Benet.
So it was, it gets a little bit too big. Rascals was exactly the right size, but anything like that, but you wind up loving them all. I used to sell out the top of the Riviera in Las Vegas, and that was like, that was insane. But that was work. When you got 1,000 people out there all crazy, you're herding cattle. When I was at Rascals, I might as well have been sitting in my bathtub. I was just mowing them down and mowing them down,
Over the years,
most of them was so much fun.
Over the years, Jackie, performing live, does it become? No, I saw somebody say this, another comedian say this on an interview recently. I thought it was very interesting. As you become established and the years go on, and now you're a veteran, obviously, of the whole business, does it become a lot easier to perform in front of people? The comedian termed what he called an easy night, and he said that they're all easy now that he's been doing it for so many years. Is there any truth to that?
Well, it's a weird, it's the same question as, do you get nervous? You don't get nervous. You anticipate because you want to do well. It's funny because when you're young and starting out, you're not really, what is there to worry about? And as you get more established and doing better, and all of a sudden people are paying $40 to see you, there's more pressure because you can't go out there and get away with it. You got to go out and beat the hell out of them. But that's the challenge and that's the fun. And if you don't get a little bit of butterflies and get a little anticipative and a little bit nervous, you don't belong in the business,
Right.
But it does. I guess the word easier, you could say it's easier.
Well,
I'll tell you.
If I can explain, Jackie, if I can explain it a little further.
I've had times where I went up on stage, and I'm like 72 years old, and maybe not this year because of COVID, but like last year, I go on stage and I'm like, Jesus Christ, that was the best show I have ever had. Because you get better and better at it and smoother at it, So
Yeah, the comedian wasn't so much talking about the nerves coming from his end. He was talking about the audience acceptance of him because of his earned reputation, that he could go on and have an easier time than he may have had in the early days when somebody might throw silverware at him or something.
Yeah, they're not going to take as many pot shots. You know?
Right. Did you notice that over the years?
That's true,
Okay.
except with me it was always weird because I've always lived with at any point, any asshole can just yell, Baba Booey. And I'm fucked. You know what I mean? It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen, but it's like the morons heckle. You know what I mean? It's like somebody's way of telling everybody that, hey, I watched the Stern Show, but that never really came to fruition a lot.
Sure.
I did a show about 3 years ago with some great headliners. What's his name? Is it Billy Bordell? I can't think of these guys' names, but it was like 5 or 6 pretty decently main guys.
Who, Bill Burr?
No.
Oh,
it's not really a comic. He's like an actor. Bill Bordell, Bill.
Who that
He's
might?
done a
You're
bunch
Mr.
of
TV.
bunch of these. Molly, who's Molly and Me? Or
Okay, I think I know
know
who
you're
you're
talking
talking
Golly
about.
Miss Molly.
Okay.
The heavyset guy.
Monty
Well,
the
there was
Fan.
like five or six of us on this show, and there was 3,000 people there, and I had that thing like, oh God, one idiot in this huge auditorium yelling Baba Booey, like a room full of mousetraps going off. But it doesn't happen, and it is nice. I remember when you first start in comedy, you got to work so hard, and then you understand what's going on when they say, "Here's Bob Hope," and he walks out, and they're going wild applauding, and you're like, he doesn't have to earn it. He's already got that.
Right.
And I said, look at that. They already love him. And I'll never forget, Dave Hawthorne was one of these comics I started with. That was like, peace and love, and he'd been around for 10 years already. I said, look at that. Bob Hope walks out on stage, and they already love him. And he goes, Jack, they already love you, too.
There you go.
It's one of those guys.
They do.
It's all. As Yogi Berra would say, it's 90% half mental.
Well, speaking of Baba Booey, you were a huge part of the Stern Show. Recently, we had Dr. Dre in studio from MTV Raps.
Right.
And we discussed with him Scott Salem, the longtime engineer of the show. And basically, I'm sure you read it, but the Post said that Howard would not help.
No, I skipped this. I didn't pay attention, and I don't know what happened.
Right.
I just was hoping that behind closed doors, Howard was handing them the money to take care of everything.
Right.
And I just chose to hope that that's what went down. I have no idea. They called me for that article too.
Gotcha.
And I said, I don't want to talk about it, because no matter what I say, either I'm lying or I'm bitter or I'm making it up. There's no win, because if I tell the truth and it's not controversial, what good am I? You know what I mean? So,
Right.
Yeah, Scott's a fucking idiot, and Howard's a cheap cocksucker, and Gary has bad breath, and fuck everybody,
Well, the last part's probably true. With that, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with the comedic icon, Jackie the Joke Man.
That's right, folks. Canine Corral for all your dog daycare and overnight care. Call 631-549-1544. That's 631-549-1544. And Nitro's Garage for all your automotive needs. Call 646-675-2349. That's 646-675-2349. For all your automotive needs, Nitro's Garage. Ask for Jack. The Monty and the Pharaoh Show is brought to you by...
Because wine is your second favorite four-letter word. California wine, New York attitude. Good fucking wine.
Yeah.
All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monty and the Pharaoh, seen every Thursday, produced out of Indie Music TV in Ronkonkoma, New York. Welcome back. the icon, Jackie the Joke Man Martling. Jackie.
Was that on the level good fucking wine, or is that a
That
goof?
that's nope, that's a true wine.
Yes, it is.
They're a sponsor of ours, and I
Yes.
got to tell you, being a guest on the show, we're going to send you a bottle if you drink wine.
Jackie doesn't do wine. He only drinks Heinekens.
I don't drink wine.
He just drinks
But
beer.
I have a
Then you're fucked.
It's kind of ironic because I have a gigolo service called Big Fucking Cock.
Nice, very nice.
Holy Limp Biscuit. Oh, I can't.
Do you also have an escort service? It's called
The gaping vagina, yes.
Yeah, thank you.
What about us Greeks? Do you have something called corn shoot? Never mind. Anyway. Oh, my dear Lord. Well, this question's irrelevant for Jackie because it says thoughts on Howard being cheap as hell. So we're not going to go with that one. We've already got his thoughts on that.
I'll tell you a great story.
Yeah, let's
I'll
hear
tell you a
it.
great story. When I started doing Stump the Joke Man, so long ago, there was a place in Mineola called Chuckles. There was a comedy club
Yes.
called Chuckles.
Yes.
And at the end of my shows, I played Stump the Joke Man. But I had recently started on the Stern Show, and people were curious. It was so early on that people knew nothing. They really knew nothing. And people had questions. Because very early on, people would say to me, hey, I heard a rumor, Robin's black. Is that true? You know what I mean? It was that early on. And Howard used to tell everybody that he was half Jewish and half Italian because that would get him all along Long Island. Listen to him, because they're all the
Interesting.
Jews and all the Italians. So he's
Sure.
half Jewish, half Italian.
Okay.
But as time goes on, people start thinking about what's going on. And I did my show at Chuckles, and I said, listen, let's play Stump the Joke, man. You can ask me a joke. But if you want to ask me about, comedy, or if you want to ask me about the Stern Show, whatever you want to ask, I'm wide open to it. And this guy stood up and he said, is Howard really half Jewish? And I said, yes. And he said, what's the other half? And I said, even more Jewish.
Oh, boy.
It was the funniest ad lib I ever had. The place went absolutely berserk.
That is hilarious.
And
Jackie,
that was after I was on the show for 6 months.
what was it like the first conversation with Howard when he contacted you? We all know the story that he listened to your tapes and stuff. What was that like the first time that you spoke with Howard?
Nothing. It was what happened was I put out an album, and then I put out another album, and then I put out another album. And I had 3 comedy albums, and I had cassettes that matched them. And she was my girlfriend at the time. Me and Nancy sent out packages to everybody we met. If I met you, I sent you. I don't know where that guy got the album, but I probably ran into him somewhere, or maybe he bought it at a gig, and that's where he got the What Did You Expect? Then when I put out my second album, I would send both albums. Like if you guys are, we got a wrestling podcast, or we got a wrestling show. Oh, give me your business card. I'll send you my comedy records. I mean, I sent them forever. Now, before I even had records, we used to send cassette tapes of our band. I mean, I've always been a madman with this promotion crap. And then I had 3 albums out. In 1982, I had 3 albums out, and we sent them to everybody. Nancy and me packed up 3 albums, 3 cassettes, and all our promo, and sent them to so many people. And in those days, like, the albums cost money, the cassettes cost money, the postage cost money,
Sure.
the cardboard to pack them in cost. But I don't know what I was on my way to, but I was working my ass off. And then I got governors because they like 922 wine. My joke line, that is a whole other complete different tale, but 516-922 wine is still going. That created comedy on Long Island. And I was working down in D.C., and this guy said, hey, you should contact this guy. He just got fired from the radio, but he's moving to New York. They hired him for WNBC in New York, and I bet you he'd love you. So I got home, and just like we sent him to 1 million people, me and Nancy sent the 3 comedy albums and the cassettes to Howard Stern, care of WNBC AM. I never heard of the guy, didn't know from radio. I drove around listening to the Eagles on cassette in my car. I was a hippie, played songs. I listened to my own music. I listened to the Eagles. I listened to Chicago,
Sure.
And we sent the stuff, and a couple of months later, I mean, I think he came up to New York in like September or October, and this was February. And by this time, me and Nancy are living in a rented house, but the first Joke Land, my first actual, what I call Joke Land is where I operate out of, was in my mother's attic. And I was sitting in my mother's attic, and the phone rang, and Nancy says, "Hey, that disc jockey Howard Stern just called. He wants you to call him." I said, "All right." So I called NBC, and I said, "I want to talk to Howard Stern," and returned his call. He got right on the phone, and he said, "Hey, listen, we listened to your records. We think you're funny, and we're having a talent contest on the radio today, over the telephone. People are going to call in and perform for us. Do you want to come in and be one of the judges?" And at the time, I'm working at Governor's in Levittown, and this is New York City, Rockefeller Center. It was a pretty easy answer, So I said, "Well, I'll be right there." And I drove in, and it's so funny because I walked in, and it was Howard and Robin and Fred. And I sat down. And that's exactly who was there the last day in 2001. The last day I worked there was Howard and Robin and me and Fred.
Wow.
But I walked in there and sat down, and I never really did radio before. I'd get interviewed once in a while when I was doing a gig, but not even a lot because I wasn't that famous yet. It's funny, I used to go on with John DeBella in Philadelphia, but it wasn't really doing radio. It was kind of hanging out. But I walked in and sat down and just had a great time for 3 or 4 hours. And at the end of the show, Howard said, "Man, you're a lot of fun. Why don't you come back next week?" I said, "Sure." So I came in once a week for free for 3 years.
Wow.
What?
So
Hey.
I paid my dues. I paid my dues.
You sure
Hey,
did.
Jackie.
Slowly but surely passing him notes and ideas and making him funnier. And then he got fired and hired at K-Rock. And then when he went to the mornings at K-Rock, I joined the show. And then pretty soon I was on full time. And we went to Pluto.
Yeah,
That simple.
that you did.
Jackie, fan Bon Lewis out there says you have a degree in mechanical engineering from Michigan State. Do you miss doing anything in that field?
No, for one very good reason. I never did anything. The only thing I did in that field was I actually dropped out of college in spring of '69 like everybody else, and I failed a bunch of courses. And I missed a whole one of the trimesters because I had wrecked my leg in a drunken spree. And then I met a beautiful girl, and we were going to move in together. I said, "Well, if I'm going to move in with her, I got nothing else to do. I might as well go back to college." So I went back to college. But here I was in 1970. I was in the engineering building at Michigan State, with my blue jeans rolled up, with bare feet, with a ponytail, with my dog. And here's everybody else has got a pencil protector with their pencils in it and their white shirts. And meanwhile, they're copying off my test. I'm taking atomic physics and mechanics and I was very smart. I was good in math, good at calculus, but I never did it with any intention of ever doing it. We'd be sitting there in class and one guy say, "Hey, yeah, I just did an interview with Ford. I'm going to be starting in November. I get my own car and $35,000 a year." "Oh, yeah, well, they're giving me a place to live down in Delaware." But yeah. And they, because they're interviewing and everybody's getting these great jobs. And I'm like, all I know is I ain't doing that, So I stayed around for 2 more years in East Lansing, Michigan, playing rock and roll. So, I graduated in 5 years, but I stayed 7. And I still have that diploma. But I told people in my show, I say, I used my diploma to roll pot.
There you go.
It's a pretty large rolling
But
paper.
I would say it's not a goof. I really did. I had my diploma framed in glass, and I rolled pot on it. It was kind of fun,
Nice.
But I just played music and wrote songs, and I wasn't any good at it. But man, we had fun.
That's all. Mr. Big wants to tell you that
Mr. Big.
he's that you're a consummate comedian and the funniest guy since Buddy Hackett. That's a pretty big compliment.
Wow. Fuck Buddy Hackett. I'm kidding. No, I'll tell you, after the first Friars roast I went to, we all went back to the Friars. And I was sitting next to Buddy and Henny and the whole gang. And we're all fooling around. And all of a sudden I realized, I'm not like some kid that's just a fly on the wall here. I'm part of this gang. I'm contributing and being funny. And I'm like, wow, I belong here,
Was there ever a
It's great
particular...
fun. Buddy's son, Sandy, actually is not a good friend of mine. I haven't seen him in 10 or 15 years, but he's a good guy,
Was there ever a particular comedian that you got to meet where you really did like lose your mind, like, secretly, like, oh my God, I've always wanted to meet this one? Or any particular guest that came on the show that made you really...
What is really crazy is the answer to that is yes.
Okay.
And it was Rodney. And I wound up giving him his best joke ever, and I wound up going away with him.
Okay.
It wasn't like I had people that I liked, but I got to hang out with this guy. I mean, this is the guy that I thought was the greatest because he's joke.
Yeah.
No time in between, no fucking around. Joke.
Relentless.
And then he bought some jokes from me, and then I wound up going away with him. And every second of the 2 weeks that we're on the road were like, just stellar, because he was just such a character. There's other people that, your jaw drops a little. It's great to meet Roger Daltrey, but, we...
Oh, yeah.
When we were in England, we were sitting there at the Princess Trust concert. We actually broadcast for a whole week from Abbey Road Studios, which is...
Wow.
I mean, pinch me, right?
Yeah.
And then we went to the Princess Trust concert, and we're sitting up in the catacombs interviewing people before the show, and the fucking Bee Gees sat across the table from us and sang a cappella.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah, you've arrived.
This cannot be happening.
It was, and you've arrived, Jackie. Yeah, that happened if you sat there and watched it. Oh my God.
Jackie, once you got super popular, how easy was it to pull trim out there?
What?
Well, I was married the whole time. So,
Well, if you weren't married.
No, but what the truth of it is? The truth of it is, what's really funny is the old story is the worst musician that plays bass in the worst band in the worst Holiday Inn in the middle of nowhere
gets tons of
the
flips.
chicks come up and give them their underwear and hotel keys.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, the best comedian in the world comes off stage at Carnegie Hall,
Oh, no.
and a woman comes up to him and points over and says, "My husband thinks you're funny."
Oh,
That's the
Wow.
pussy story for
For the
I mean,
comedian.
of course there were girls. The girls that chased the Howard Stern show, he would talk about these women on the air, and people would be like, wow, their minds. And meanwhile, my God, most of the girls that came in and took their shirts off, we were like, me and Fred are like, put it on. But, and there was stuff you could do, but it wasn't, you know what? It kept me honest because there was no way, even if I wanted to, I couldn't have got away with anything. If I fucked some girl, she wouldn't even let me finish because she'd be so busy getting to the phone so she could call Gary and tell him that she just fucked Jackie,
Oh my God.
So I kind of, I was a victim of my own circumstance.
Yeah, I'm a victim of circumstance. Oh my God.
Circumstance. But that was great though, But what was really great is the whole world thought. I would be in the Grand Central Parkway on the way home, caught in, in construction traffic, and the Stern Show made New York a small town. It would that was what amazed. Like if I was late in the morning, all the cars around me, you idiot, you asshole, they're waiting for you. What are you doing? And I'd be coming home at 12 o'clock noon with the windows open in traffic, and like the guy next to me wouldn't say, "Wait a minute, are you Jackie? Are you that guy from the Stern Show? Hey, do I know you?" They'd look over and nonchalantly say, "What'd she look like?" And I go, the Howard made her sound a lot better than she was. That's what I thought. Like mid-conversation, like he'd been my friend my whole life, which I just thought was so. That was the greatest thing. It made New York a village. It was great.
Yeah.
But that was everything that happened on the show really happened. There was nothing made up like, hey, you pretend this and I'll pretend that. The only thing that was made up is if he said a girl was a 9, she was more like a 0.9.
No, jeez.
Oh, putrid.
Hey, Jackie, if you could do it all over again, would you still want to be a comic?
If I could do it all over again, I'd do it all over your girlfriend.
Not my girlfriend, man. You don't even know what she looks
Holy
like.
spoon.
Don't trust me.
Yeah, really. That's a blind assumption on Jackie's part.
I would not change. I've been asked. I would not change as far as my life and what I did growing up. And I did some foul things and some stupid things, and high school and college and the Stern Show and leaving and all. I would not change anything. Of course, that's a ridiculous question because you can't change anything.
Right.
And
right.
But no, I wouldn't change anything. People go, "Oh, you fucked up your life when you left it." If I hadn't left the Stern Show, I might have been dead a month later. You know, not that I had such a drinking problem, but all you have to do is get drunk on a Saturday night and fall asleep on the way home,
Right.
or God forbid, kill other people. So I did. I left the show. I got divorced, quit drinking, and moved into a house on the beach by myself. People, oh, Nancy left Jackie when he lost his job. No, we were long divorced. We just hadn't gone through it yet. She's still like one of my very, very best friends. She lives like 2 doors away from me here, But I wouldn't change nothing. I quit drinking. I would have never quit drinking if I was still on the show, until I ran into a tree,
Did you feel, to me, you were kind of like, really, when I think about this, you were kind of the rock star of that show. It's interesting that you started out as a musician, but then you became, a comedian. You wind up on Stern. And what I'm getting at is Mike, I saw this awesome, episode the other night on YouTube where Jackie walks in and they're giving him a breathalyzer. Yeah, I'm sure you remember this, Jackie. I mean, what was it like?
I think they might have done him.
What was it like? Like, basically, to me, you were basically the rock star. Howard fed off this shit when you would come in all, hung over from a long night or something.
I was living a life,
Right.
I was out there living it. When I started on that show, they used to make fun of me because Howard and Robin and Fred and Gary knew everything about every Munsters episode and every Partridge Family and Brady Bunch, and they knew all this stuff. And I didn't know any of it. And they thought, what are you, an idiot? What are you, raised in a closet? I'm like, no, you guys were sitting with your mother watching fucking television. I was out drinking, smoking pot, fucking girls, playing rock and roll. I was out living my life while you guys were watching the Brady Bunch. Oh,
Right.
look at Jackie. He doesn't know that episode. No, I don't know that episode. Fuck no, I don't know it. I actually wound up making a movie where I got to make out with Mrs. Brady.
Oh,
Are you kidding?
Really?
What's the name of that movie? I got to see that.
Well, look at you. Was this bathroom material for you?
Yeah,
what are you
hell
talking
yeah.
about?
It's good
Don't tell
porn.
him, Jackie. Don't tell him. Oh my God.
Venus and Vegas.
Venus and
That's what it's
Vegas.
called. Venus and Vegas.
It sounds
It's so
stimulating.
Great.
Oh my God.
Jackie,
Oh, it's so fun.
Jackie, we got about one more minute.
Oh.
Fan out there, Bart G is asking,
Hey, Bart.
can you tell? Can you do the Rodney? Give Rodney a
No,
chance
I will
joke.
tell you, if somebody would like to hear that joke, you can email me, jokeland@aol.com. It's too long to fit in with 1 minute to go. I'll tell you a great COVID joke.
Let's hear it.
Okay.
And tell him to give Rodney a chance. I used to be what you heard when you went to my website, but the website changed. But I'll
Okay.
be glad to send it to anybody. Jokeland@aol.com. But the
Fair
COVID
enough.
joke is the guy goes to his neighbor's house and knocks on the door. And the neighbor answers, and he says, "Hey, man, since the COVID hit, I haven't seen your wife." And the neighbor says, "Oh, she's out back in the garden." He says, "Well, I was just out there. I didn't see her." He says, "Well, you got to dig down a little bit."
That's great.
That's the greatest joke.
Jackie, want to thank you for coming
Are
on.
you guys married?
What?
Are you married?
Are we married? Yes, I'm
No, not
married.
to each
Not to
other.
each
No,
other.
no,
Not
not
to
to
each
each
other.
other.
But you're married?
I'm married. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Currently, yes. Yes.
greatest married joke. The guy walks in, his wife's watching television, and she's yelling at the screen, "Don't do it! Don't go in that church! You fucking asshole! Don't go in that church!" He says, "What are you watching?" She says, "Our wedding video."
That is great. Oh my God. Oh, I'm using that one.
All right, listen, I tweet jokes every day at 4:20 p.m. International Marijuana Time at Jackie Martling.
Killing me.
I also do cameos, which are actually making me money at cameo.com/Jackie Martling. And we can do this again anytime. This is great fun. I'm sorry I couldn't come in there, but I'm 72. That virus is walking around looking for me.
Hey, listen, you know what? It was our honor to have you on the show, and I thank you for allowing us the opportunity to interview you. And you're a legend.
You know, I think this worked great. This might have worked better this way, because if I was sitting there,
There we go.
it would have been awkward. You know, this
Would
way
it?
I was looking at both of you, and you're looking at me.
Well, it is a little different here, right? So it's not like you're on top of us. We come in masked up. The show starts. We take our mask off.
Yeah.
We're pretty much away from each other. But you, as the guest, you're literally about
All the way
14
over there.
feet away from us. But not saying that you should have came in. You
Well,
got to
maybe
feel
when this thing-
comfortable. Look, no one wants to catch this
Maybe
disease,
when this thing clears up,
and
Jackie,
no one
come
wants
in,
to take a
you know?
chance with their life. But
I give you my, I'll give you a rain check, and I will come back.
Sounds
all right,
awesome.
man. We really appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you again. Thank you again, sir.
All right, baby. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Jackie.
So
That was awesome.
that was awesome, right?
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was awesome.
Love
So,
the guy.
Jimmy, real quick for the fans out there, coming up, we had the Dutch Mantel deal.
Yeah.
Dutch, unfortunately, will not be in studio. We
Yeah.
were just speaking about COVID, and
Yep.
Dutch is unable to fly
Right.
because of that
There's
particular
a lot
situation.
It's rough right now, obviously.
So our next show, I think, is what, Dan Severin? Next
Dan
Thursday?
Severin. Yeah,
Is
Severin,
it
yep.
next Thursday with Dan
I
Severin?
believe so.
Any thoughts on today's interview, Jimmy?
That was just, you know what? That was really, really fantastic. I'm gonna look fondly for years upon this interview, because he's one of my faves.
Yeah.
And I love the Howard Stern show. Come on, that's a big staple of ours growing up. So that was an absolutely that's a classic.
Do you think
very
Jackie
happy.
took the high road on some of the Stern questions?
Sure.
Really, to tell the truth, I didn't.
Sure.
You know, I'm not a big fan of Stern, so you know.
Oh, I know you're not. You know,
Right.
I know. He was the best time period for that show.
Oh, absolutely.
That's all there is to it. You know, they were magic together.
Artie, a close second.
Artie's funny, but you know what's, as you know this is the truth. I only recently even became aware of Artie and Howard.
Yeah,
I got off I don't want to sound like a mark, but I think I probably got off when Jackie got off the train. You know, that's possible. I'd have to think about that, but I only recently became more aware of Artie stuff. He's hilarious. Artie's very funny.
Great job producing, Matt. Really appreciate it.
Big boy, Matty Ice.
Thank you, as always.
Thank
And
you, sir.
this is Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast. And
Yes, sir.
We're not just pro wrestling broadcast, right? We're a
apparently
variety
not.
show, and I got to tell you, I really meant that. What an honor it was to be able to be in the same realm as such a legend like Jackie the Joke.
Yeah,
Man,
we had a
for
nice
sure.
voice box session. It wasn't like having him here, but hey, we
Any-
contacted the spirit of Jackie.
That's it, brother.
That was
Any
awesome.
parting words for the fans out there?
Just once again, as I say every week, thank you for letting us come into your living room. And until next week with the great Dan Severin, later.